We would like to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Sonic Electronics, so check them out for great deals on speakers, head units, amps, subs, wiring, etc. Use discount code PROVOBEAST for an instant 5% off your next purchase during checkout. PROVOBEAST here doing another install today. Today we're doing a 4-channel amplifier on this earlier model Chevy Silverado. Today we're going to be amplifying all 4 interior speakers. We're using a Memphis audio amp. So within this install we're going to show you what parts you'll need, how to wire up the amplifier, and do a little bit of testing for you. Now first things first, what we typically do is locate the best place to locate your amplifier. This is somebody's work truck, and we've decided probably, because he uses back behind his seat so much, we'll probably go ahead and actually tuck the amplifier right back up underneath the seat, just so it's out of the way and there's no it getting in the way of typical day-to-day work. We have our regular radio that we're going to be using. It's an aftermarket Radio Pioneer. And then within this install, we're going to go ahead and run all the cabling. We're going to show you how to run the speaker wire, show you how to run the power and ground, remote wire, and the RCAs. For this install, what we have chosen to use is this 4-gauge amplifier kit. Comes with RCA, speaker wire, power ground, remote turn-on wire, a fuse, and your terminal accessories. And we've chosen also to use this Memphis 4-channel amplifier. A little older, but we actually used our little test bench and it works great. So first thing what we're going to be doing here is we've located our battery. Now these GM may need a side post adapter, and it looks like somebody's already put one on this. But basically this is our power point. We're going to run our power wire from our battery through the factory grommet here. And again, somebody's already put something in here so we can use that hole. But if there isn't one, just cut a little hole and run the wire through. And we're going to run it all the way back across over to underneath the passenger side seat. Alright, so we started running our power wire. That's about the length we'll need. We ran it up and around. Probably put our inline fuse. Somebody already has an amplifier in here. But we'll make sure we put our inline fuse close to the battery. We've run our power wire up through that factory grommet. Alright, and that's where the power wire came out. After we cut that hole, be extremely careful of the factory wiring harness that you don't damage that in any way. Run the wire down. And that's where the wire comes out. Now from this point, you can either tuck or pop these panels out. Super easy to do so. They're all just held on with clips. Once you pop the panel out, we can run this blue wire up underneath the factory paneling. As you can see, this customer already has the a bass amplifier with a sub right there in the middle. But we're going to go up and around. We're going to continue to hide the wire, work our way over. Okay, so just popping this panel off, just again held on with clips, just pop them up. This little panel just slides on off around the door latch, the hood latch itself. And you just ran the cable all the way down here. And then you can just tuck. And again, this is just the single cab. Your install may be a little different. But as you can see, there's the wire there, and I just tucked the wire all the way back, working my way over. All right, and that's where my wire came out. Now it's up to you if you want to run it up and underneath the mat, or wire it up and around, just so you actually don't see the wire itself, whether you have carpet or this industrial mat itself. So we're about done here running the power wire. Next thing we're going to need to do is run the ground wire, and then our RCAs, speaker wire, and remote turn-on wire to the radio. Alright, so what I've done, I actually removed the jack there, just so I can run the cables up underneath. As you can see, they come out right there. Now the ground cable, I kind of ran with the power wire. When you pull this back, fortunately with the jack there was 2 studs, 1 and 2, holding the jack in place. Since I removed those bolts, this is a nice solid ground. And what I did is I cleaned the paint off really well up and around that stud itself. And that's where my ground will be. So when I put the nut back on, I'll make it nice and tight up against that cleaned paint area. So other ways, I mean, it looks like a previous installer did a bunch of self-tapping screws, which is it's okay. It's not the best. That is a better method. And even if you drilled a hole and put a stud bolt and nut in there, that would work just fine as well. So that's our ground here. So we got our power and ground all run. Let's go ahead and put the fuse up front and start running our speaker wire and RCA. All right, so we're on to the RCA speaker wire and the remote turn on wire. Now, being that this is a 4-channel amp, what we're going to be doing is running 4 sets of speaker wire. We're going to need 2 sets of RCAs. Now, if you don't have another set of RCAs, you can use splitters to make these 2 channels. And this end will plug into the amp and we can split them. If you have a second set of RCAs, by all means run those. So we'll have our RCAs, we have our 4 sets of speaker wire, and our remote turn on wire. Now these are all taped about every foot or so. Now we'll be running all 4 sets of speaker wire, RCA, and remote turn on wire from this area of the amp. We're going to work our way down, and the same thing, you can pop the panels off on this side of the car, up and over, up to the radio in the middle of the actual dash itself, to the radio cavity. And so, start running cables all the way up to the front of the car, and we're going to kind of show you how to do so. Okay, so what we've done at this point is we've run our speaker wire, our RCAs, and our remote turn on wire up underneath here. Same thing, we pop that panel off. This panel pops off as well, and then we just ran it up underneath the glove box, and we pulled the wiring out from the stereo cavity. Go ahead and check out my other video on how to remove this dash bezel. But at this point, we've pulled this all in. Our 4 sets of speaker wire, our RCAs, and our remote turn on wire. Now our speaker wire, the way we've hooked this up is we have our main factory wiring harness. And our speaker wire, we just connected into the main wiring harness, just like so. The reason why we chose this method is this is the output from the amp, goes into our main harness, and then to the doors through the factory wiring. So kind of a nice and clean and easy way to hook that up. Our remote turn on wire also plugs into the blue and white wire on the back of your aftermarket radio, or just any location that has a 12-volt switch source when the radio is on. And then our RCAs plug into the back of the radio. Now what we've done here is we hooked up our power and our ground. All our speaker wires are hooked up, and we got our RCAs plugged in as well. At this point, we're going to get this nicely mounted up under the seat, totally out of the way, and ensure none of the wires will get in the way of the tracks of the seats. And at this point, we're good to go to start putting the car back together. Okay, so we got the amp all in there. Everything's hidden and tucked away. Nice and clean. Got our panels all back together. We're done back here as well. Let's go ahead and go under the hood. Alright, so we got our inline fuse all mounted here. And then we got our positive on our GM adapter. Basically ensure that you have a good connection, that your positive doesn't ground out on anything. So it's all connected to the battery. Now when you do add the positive to the terminal, make sure the negative has been removed. Get the positive all tightened up, and then replace the negative back on the battery. Okay, got the dash bezel all back together. The radio's all back in. We did a little test. It sounds great. Plenty of power there. If you have any questions about this install, just go ahead and post a comment below. Thanks guys for watching the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.